wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
Give me a full ballerina skirt and a hint of saloon, and I'm on board.
I can't go back.
Welcome to the She Became Visible podcast. I'm your host, Renee Steelman. This podcast is my story. It's your story. It's our story. It's all the stories of all the women who one day knew that it was time to remember who they were, who they are, and stand up and be seen. Hello, She Became Visible ladies. I am having technical difficulties, which seems to be par for the course. Okay, she's checking her spam and she's seeing if perhaps she might get it there. Anyway, we're at some point going to be joined by Darla today. But I'm going to give you a preview of coming attractions and tell you a little bit about how I met Darla. So I'm just going to keep checking my text to make sure that we're still on here. So I'm also wondering, my recording seems to be, but let's turn that up a little bit. Okay. I don't know why I can't hear this. Why do the technology gods not work with me? I thought that I had positive input to the planets aligning or Pisces or whatever it is in Aquarius. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so, okay, but I don't see, it seems like the microphone is okay, but this is not, that is weird. That is weird. Why is this weird? What, come on. Nope, nope. Okay, I'm going to test just for a second here. Let me test my audio. That seems to be working okay. That seems to be working okay. Let me check, and my camera's okay. And anyway, all right. Well, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just not going to worry about it. I don't know what this thing is telling me, but either way, I'm having problems. Anyway, so let me get back to introducing Darla. I met Darla at my very first fitness competition in Las Vegas in 2023. It was July, I think, of 2023. And I went to this competition completely by myself. I didn't have a coach with me. I didn't really know what I was doing. And it was fascinating. I'm watching all of these pros backstage, and I'm watching them. Let me check in with Darla. I'm watching them eat their gummies, and I'm watching them eat their, dang. Okay, let me try this again. I'm watching them eat their rice cakes with peanut butter. And, okay, copy, email. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, sent it to her one more time. We'll see if get this to work. I'm going to move this out of the way. I think this is blocking my microphone. I don't like it. Anyway, I need to move this up a little bit too. I can tell a difference too with that. Anyway, the technical gods are killing me today. They're killing me. You're killing me. What can I say? Anyway, see if I bring it up a little bit. I think that's actually better. Oh, she's got it. Okay, that means she'll be on pretty soon. Well, I don't want to hold my microphone. Leave me alone, microphone. You're not being very nice to me, but I might have to. Anyway, so she came up to me. I'm backstage all by myself. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing. And she came up to me and she introduced herself and told me who she was, introduced me to her family that was there visiting her. And it was like, I don't think she really understood how important that was, because I literally didn't know what I was doing. I mean, the girls are backstage. They're stretching with bands. They're squatting. They're resting on blankets that they brought. I didn't know I was supposed to bring a blanket. And like I said, they're eating their gummy bears and their rice cakes. And I'm like, I didn't know I was supposed to bring food. What's going on? Why would you eat before this happens? I also didn't understand that this stupid competition took all freaking day long and that you're on stage for 1.3 seconds. And it was a long day. But anyway, Darla was there for me, and she did not even realize how important it was for me to have her there and friendship me and introduce me to her family and whatnot. And that's how I met her. And then I've kind of watched her grow her business, and it's been absolutely astounding what she has done in the last couple of years. So I have invited her onto the show to tell her story, to tell her journey. And also we're going to talk about what she coaches people on. She coaches women, especially in the perimenopause stage of their life, because menopause and perimenopause has become the new huge topic on all the fitness channels, on YouTube, on whatever. That's what women are talking about, because that's great. If you're 20 and you've decided to start bodybuilding, congratulations. You're going to have the most amazing body you've ever had in your life. If you decide to start working out at 40, you're going to be like, what the heck is happening? Nothing is happening. And I am working literally not my butt off. I was trying to work my butt off and my butt's not coming off. So that's what Darla talks about. So let me bring Darla on stage and we are going to start this journey together. Hello, girlfriend.
Hey, it's so good to see you. We have more clothes on now.
I know. Unfortunately, I live in Arizona and it gets to be 63 and we're like, oh, we're so cold. I better grab, I don't know, a sweater,
Exactly. I'm California, so same thing. Yeah. We're a bunch of babies.
I know. We just went to a comedy show and Craig Ferguson was there and he talked about that. He said, now I understand that none of you people knew that there was a COVID epidemic. Is that correct? Because people were playing golf. They're going out with their friends, down here in Arizona. And they finally decided, well, maybe we should wear a mask. I don't know if we should.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so how are you? You are playing mommy, nursemaid,
yes,
sick patient yourself. I mean, you're doing
well, knock on wood. Yeah, my son came down with some stomach flu, so he's been every half an hour just like, but something interesting my son said as he's in bed miserable, Mom, I just want to be healthy again. There's nothing like being sick to make you realize how great it is to be healthy. And I'm like, yes, you get it. That's what it's about. It's about the feeling that we get each day from being healthy, right? And it's not until you lose that you realize how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was listening to a podcast today and they were talking about the interviewer asked the doctor, why is it that when women fall and they break a hip or a femur, why is it that is a death sentence? And his response was, well, if a 20-year-old gets sick and has to stay in bed for a month, no big deal. But if a 65-year-old falls and has to stay in bed for a month, that is where the death sentence comes in, because of just the healing and, and not moving and people don't understand how much easier it is to go through an illness like COVID or the flu and all this garbage that's going around right now, if you start out as a healthy person. But how lovely that this young man already recognizes that.
When my boyfriend and I were getting pretty serious, he's now my fiance, but he asked me about like my spending habits. Cause you start talking about things like that when you're getting closer to somebody after a few years. And I was
Well,
like, well, I'll tell you one thing. I always dedicate between 250 to up to $500 a month for health and fitness. I said
wow.
that is a non-negotiable for me. So I'll have a coach or belong to a nice gym or classes that I like. But that's just something that is so important to me because I've decided I'm either going to pay for it now and prevent illness, or you're going to pay for it later in medical bills. So
That is so right. I cannot believe that you guys had that fabulous conversation because
yeah,
that is truly an investment, like you say.
yeah.
That there's a cliche or a meme out there that says you'd rather be the oldest person in the gym than the youngest person in the nursing home. And
100%.
yeah, and that's exactly right. You're investing in I mean, our healthcare system sucks in America. I don't care what
Mhm,
people say.
mhm,
But everyone thinks, oh, I'm turning 65, I'm going to go on Medicare and all my bills will be paid. No, no, no. You have to buy supplemental insurance, which can really be just as much, if not a little more than what you were paying for private healthcare when you were working.
mm,
So it's really deceiving. And then there's always the prescriptions that they'll cover and the prescriptions that they won't. And you have to go to a designated primary caregiver, whether you like them or not. And so
mhm.
there's just a lot of things that I would rather be someone that both my husband and I, we don't take any medications. And so, when we got on Medicare, they were like, well, would like to send a home nurse in. We offer that service to you. And I said, absolutely not. I don't know what they would be doing, but yeah, go, get away, get away. So, but tell everybody your journey because, like I said, I met your mom and your family when we were at that bodybuilding competition, which was such an eye opener for me.
Yeah.
It was so. I'm looking at these women. I'm like, is that what our butt's supposed
You
to
were
do?
the star of the show, though.
Well,
All
they were
all of
very.
those women backstage were just like, "Yes." Like, look at her go.
That's
That
the
was
funnest
amazing.
part. I never really. I mean, this last one I did was it's specific situation. But most of the time, the greatest enjoyment I get is because when you go to a competition, they measure you to see what your height is, and then they check your age. And so I'm getting measured. A gentleman, and he looks at it, he goes, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "What?"
It's
He
so
goes,
fun.
"You're 70?" And I said, "Yeah." And so that's the fun. That's my reward.
Oh,
That's the reward that I
it's
get.
I mean, look at your arms. Come on. Let's see gun show.
Oh, yeah. So tell me what your journey is though, because this isn't something you've done your whole life, right?
No, in fact, I did not grow up with a fit-focused family at all. No, I mean, my mom, I grew up on carbs, casseroles or spaghetti with garlic bread. There was no protein on top, like everything, vegetables out of a can if we got vegetables. It was just, I didn't
Mm,
watch my parents working out. My dad worked full time. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Um, I'd come home and she'd be watching Days of Our Lives, and she was the homemaker.
right.
But it wasn't until I had my first baby that there's nothing like seeing a woman's body change from pregnancy to make you realize, like, oh gosh, I'm determined to get back. And so I had no idea what to do. I joined this little fitness class for mommies and their babies called Stroller Strides, where we used resistance bands and we'd do sprints and come back and tickle our babies. And that's just what I did. And I fell in love with how my body was changing and how I was feeling. And so I begged 3 months after having my first baby, I begged my husband at the time to let me open my own Stroller Strides franchise. And so I went and got certified in postnatal fitness and prenatal fitness, started teaching mommies and their babies in the park. Then I had my son, and I realized that was really impossible to teach fitness classes with two kids in a stroller. There's only so many Cheerios you can give them to keep them quiet. So that's when I started personal training in a gym, and I started teaching things called booty camp classes. So lots of young moms, after they dropped their kids off at school, would come and we would work our booties. Then I started personal training in the middle of all of that, my husband at the time signed me up for CrossFit. This was back when
Wow.
CrossFit was all the rage.
Yes.
I was terrified because all I'd worked out with was resistance bands and dumbbells. But I'm happy about that experience because it put me under a barbell for the first time. And I started learning how to really push myself out of my comfort zone. But I remember, and I liked the competitiveness of it in the community. But I remember there was a time where the workout had like 80 pull-ups or something ridiculous in it. And I was on pull-up like 40 something, and I fell off the bar and my hands were ripped and bleeding. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the coach is like, get back on the bar. And I'm
Yeah.
like, in that moment, I was like, I'm not a CrossFit girl. Like, I am bleeding, And in that moment, I realized CrossFit was not for me. But I knew I liked something that pushed me in fitness. And then that's when I went into the world of bodybuilding. So at the age of 35, I entered my first master's bodybuilding competition and was terrified, got second place. And then to me, second place was first loser. So that just motivated me to retrain. I was like, no, for me to get that close.
Yeah.
So that's the competitive nature of me. So went back, got first place. I just got the bug. So every year, a year and a half, I would train for another one. Eventually got the sword, which was really exciting. And my son was there to see that, my son and daughter. And the cutest part of that story was when I was leaving, my kids had seen me training so hard. And I was packing up stuff to go to that competition. And my son came in with his toy sword. And he's like, Mommy, whether you win it or not, I want you to have my sword. So when I actually won the sword that day and I held it up, I could hear him in the crowd like, that's my mommy. And it was by far one of the best moments of my life because, I got to share it with them and it was a huge accomplishment. Yeah. And then as you can tell from this story, I went from pretty much little to no experience in fitness to the whole opposite end of the spectrum with being very extreme, CrossFit, bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So after that, I was on a real search for balance, which, believe it or not, I do believe balance is harder to achieve than the extremes.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was on a search for balance is because I noticed, and I don't know if this happened to you, Renee, but after a show or a big goal, like I said, I'm competitive. I love challenging myself, going after big things. I had this huge letdown, kind of like a little depression afterwards. Like, well, I almost kind of resented working out because it was like, well, what am I even doing this for? I'm not going to get a trophy now. I don't have any big shows coming up.
Yeah.
And that's where I realized something was wrong. So I started on this quest for finding more balance with fitness and shifting the focus from a certain number on the scale or a certain waist measurement to thinking about longevity and how I want to feel each day, because ultimately that's what it's for, right? So I started really diving into a lot of mindset work, and I began a coaching business. The story of the coaching business is kind of the most fun part because this just shows that you have to remember that life is always working for you. And we can, like, if you would have told me in my 20s that one day I'd be a fitness coach, I would have laughed at you. Because again, I didn't grow up with fitness being part of my life. I didn't see my parents doing this. But what happened was I was really unhappy in my marriage. We had just grown apart. Nothing awful happened. It just, we ended up splitting. And I was on my own. We didn't want to go to court or anything. We wanted it to be very like amicable. Wanted to make sure that the kids didn't have any drama or anything. So he got the house, he got the car, he got everything. I went and had a little tiny 700 square foot apartment with the two kids sharing a room, but most of the time they were in my bed. And I'll never forget, it was I was working at the gym as a personal trainer 7 days a week. I would be there in the morning, then in the afternoon, I'd have to go back at night, take the kids to the daycare at the gym. I was working myself like crazy, trading time for money. And the thought in the back of my head, like, what if you get sick? What if you can't go to work one day? What if the kids get sick? Like, what are you going to do? You're barely making it paycheck to paycheck. And it was around Christmas time, and my daughter was doing soccer, and my ex-husband said, I need money. We need to split the money for cleats or some little thing. I said, can we wait until after the holidays? Because I don't have a lot of money right now and it's kind of tight. And he's like, Darla, you're going to have to go get a real job. And in that moment, I was like, I will find a way to make fitness my real job, because I loved it. I had passion for it. I felt like it was my true mission. It was like I had found what truly lit me up. They say, find what you would do for free that you could be paid for. And so I made a commitment at that point. I was like, I wrote it down. I have it. I could even find it for you. And it says, I will be able to make, blah, blah, blah income in this next year in my fitness coaching business. So I started looking for a business coach because I knew I needed to get out of the gym and go online so I could really help people, because as a personal trainer, I can check their form and count their reps, but I knew women needed the nutrition knowledge and they needed the mindset coaching. They needed the daily accountability. They needed to think differently about their health and fitness. It wasn't just, can I fit into a bathing suit? They needed that longevity factor, like drilled into their head. So this interesting thing is I had a friend who was in the NPC shows, who I had watched, and she was very successful in her online coaching business. So I reached out to her and she gave me the name of a business coach, and I started following him on social media, listening to his podcasts, watching anything that he would put of himself talking. And I would work out while listening to him and thinking through this. And I remember it was November. And I asked my manager at the gym, do you think it's crazy to invest in a business coach right now so I can go online? And she's like, no, I think you should do it. I said, it's a bad time of year. She's like, but if you start now, you can build the foundation. And by January, people are going to want to hire you. So use the next few months to do that. So I'll never forget, I got on the call with him, and, it was a high pressure sales call.
Yeah.
And he told me the amount. He's like, I think you would do great. Everything that you're saying sounds like you would be an amazing coach. It's $10,000. And I was like, for 4 months. I had $8,000 in my savings. That was it. But there were hairs standing up on my arms. Something inside of me was like, Darla, do this. That woman's intuition, you guys, is real.
No, it's so true.
Because anybody I would have told this to, family or friends, would have said I was crazy.
Absolutely.
I said yes. I was like, I don't have 10,000, I have 8,000. He's like, okay, well, you can get 2,000 out of PayPal as a loan. Okay, let's go. I did it. I'll never forget. I shut the computer. I went and I tucked the kids into bed. I was like, Darla, what have you done? I get on my couch, I open my computer, and I just started learning, just taking in the information of his modules. I was up till like 4 a.m. that day. Same thing the next day, same thing. I started just like practicing and following what he was doing. A few months later, what happened? COVID.
Oh, no.
The gym shut down.
Yes.
Not just the gym, didn't just shut down for a year. The gym I was at as the head trainer shut down indefinitely.
Yes.
I think back now, had I not made that one decision, what would have happened? Like, so it was just meant to be.
How do you tell someone? Because I talked to a guy that was, I forget what his emphasis was. Oh, to get like a TED Talk. This guy was going to coach you into how to get a TED Talk, and it was like $12,000.
Yes.
And I remember going, yeah, that's never going to happen. Goodbye. See you later. What gave you the feeling that this is not a scam? That, especially because it wasn't like you were going over and sitting in a class and he had to come and, it was all online. You're like, wow, how easy peasy is that? So what was it that made you realize, no, this is true. This is real?
Well, the fact that I had seen somebody go through it with
Okay.
success, and she vouched for him that she said, "Yeah, this will change your life."
Okay.
So and I had seen her business grow, and just talking to him, I just felt like I felt like, at the end of the day, I just needed the game plan and the guidance. This is
Yeah.
the same thing I tell my clients. You
Yes.
know, he has helped people multiple times build businesses, and I just needed that foundational work down. I
Yeah.
needed somebody to keep accountable to, somebody to go to when I was worried or frustrated. At the end of the day, you have to know that you're going to commit and follow through.
Yes.
And I knew in my heart that if I were to put that money behind this, that there was no stopping me.
Yeah.
That I was on an island and I burned the boats. There was
Yeah.
no going back.
Right. Well,
So
and I think too, people don't understand the guidance part
mhm,
that you do have to have someone that has a plan. Because I mean, I love all the stories. I mean, you hear all the stories. I don't know. I just posted this video one day and I woke up and I had 3 million people say, what,
yeah.
I mean, and then you think, oh, okay, that's going to happen to me. And it doesn't happen. And so, but everybody needs to be compensated for their talents. And so you've got these people out there that are trained and that will be there. That's another version of coaching.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, how great, but I can't believe because everything got online after that, right?
Yes, and so grateful. I got my first few online clients, and their transformations were unlike anything that I had ever been able to do with personal training. It was
Serious.
amazing, and not only that, but they were not just we don't call it losing the weight. I call it releasing the weight because we're not trying to
Yeah.
find it again.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Oh, look, I found it. Right. It
yes,
was right here at Christmas time, all wrapped up in a brownie
yes,
box.
yes. So right, exactly. So not only were they releasing the body fat, but then they were continuing that lifestyle and sustaining it. And we've been Joyfit Academy has been here for over 5 years now. And I still check in on clients that I had in the very beginning in 2019. And they're telling me, I'm still doing this. Like I'm still practicing these habits and routines. I'm still in a fit body. In fact, we have had, I think, 4 different clients who fell in love with it so much they became certified and are now personal trainers in gyms or online themselves. So
Wow,
it's so cool to see, and I
amazing.
just feel like this was meant for me. This was my path. And I have to say, even my ex-husband, like how I had said, like, "Oh, I'll show you." He's so proud of me. He's like, "Darla, I'm
Oh,
so glad that this is where you went because this is truly where you were meant to be."
yeah, yeah.
You needed
That's just so
that
cool.
push to
Yeah,
get you out of your comfort zone and do something really scary.
yeah. Well, that's a whole nother podcast. I have so many stories from women that are, like you said, living in a tiny little apartment. Their husband got the house, the car,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, okay, I want to talk about that more. But you have such a fabulous, that it gave you the incentive to be, and
Yes.
you didn't become a victim. You became a successor, and I love that. And my
Yeah.
my biggest thing is finding strength in the solution and not the problem, because so
Yes.
many people live in that victim mode for so long. And granted, they were done wrong. No doubt that they were done wrong, but you've got to get out of there somehow. And so,
Mhm.
I love that. Now, what I love is your new focus. And like you said, you're what, 40, what'd you say, 43, 44?
45.
You're 45. So your emphasis right now is coaching women that are in perimenopause. Might as well just
Yeah.
be menopause, but the beginning, and this must be so helpful because it is such a confusing time for women. They're like, why cannot think of a word? I cannot think. Perfect example. I cannot think of a word.
Brain fog.
I'm just walking around in a daze. I don't know
Mhm.
why, or I want to kill my husband,
Mhm.
or I'm so depressed. And they're thinking there's something wrong with me, or maybe I ate, too much, lasagna last night or whatever, because they're only 35 and they're
Mhm.
thinking, well, what could be wrong with me? And they
Mhm.
don't understand how your body works after 25. Things are starting to shift and change and the whole bit. And so tell me, because this was probably something that you had to go, I need to know more about this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so tell me that journey.
Well, I mean, first of all, I work solely, have always specialized in women that are 40 to anywhere. I have women that are up to 70 and, a little older than 70. One woman, she's just turned 70 and lost 40 pounds and is feeling the best she's ever felt in her life. Had never picked up dumbbells before in her whole life. We just started her with
No.
resistance bands and then worked her way up. Now she's lifting like 20-pound dumbbells and she's just like everywhere she goes, people are like, whoa. But that age group, 40 to around 70, I love because they're the ones that come to me saying, "My body's broken. Nothing's working. I've
Yeah.
tried everything." But
Yeah.
the problem is it's not their body that's broken, it's their strategy. They're using the same strategy from their 20s and 30s.
Right. Right.
That's not the case after the
Yeah.
age of 40. So, yeah, and especially like you said, 35, that's when we start to lose muscle mass as we're aging. And then the loss of muscle mass accelerates in the 2 to 3 years before menopause. So that's a whole nother story. So women are losing muscle, which means their body compositions are changing because the more muscle you have on your body, the more calories you burn being alive, just at rest, just your
Yeah.
heart beating and digestion. So they're
Right.
gaining weight and they're like frustrated because eating a salad and going on a treadmill isn't doing it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what they really need more than anything is strength training. So resistance training, more protein, and consistent daily movement. So watching their step count, not running. Okay, your knees don't need that. Your hips don't need that.
Yeah.
Okay, low impact, walking, some resistance training, and more protein because most women are only eating maybe 50 grams of protein a day, if that.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, especially my generation, because we grew up jogging. We
Mhm.
grew up doing Jane Fonda.
Yes.
And so you see this in the gym with women that are continuing the jazzercise or
Mhm.
something like that, thinking, well, I work out. Why isn't my body changing? And I know in one of your Instagram posts, you talked about, not running and the HIIT classes and the inflammation that it causes and the stress it puts
The
on your
stress.
body, raises cortisol, everything absolutely opposite of what you want to be doing. And yet and a lot of times I know when I loved F45. I absolutely loved F45. And I went there for 2, 3 years and I, joined one of their little competitions, whoever loses the most weight, blah, 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 nothing. My body was not changing at all. And I
Mhm.
went back once a couple of weeks ago, just for my rest day, like you were talking about. Oh, this is your rest day? Yes, this is my rest day. And I see these people that I've seen for 2 years, they don't look any different.
No.
And I'm like, I don't know why I don't know, maybe their goal was probably what I loved about it too, was the community, the
Mhm.
togetherness. But what I see is a lot of men there that are just going crazy. And I'm like, yeah, that's you because you're a man and our bodies are completely
Yeah.
different. And Mark Wahlberg, this probably works great for your man body, you know, because he's the founder of
I
F45.
forgot. Yeah, yeah, when you
Yeah,
said that,
and
I was
so
like,
yeah, and it's like and like you were saying, every test that's ever been done on fasting, bone density, all that stuff, all these tests have been done on men. They have no
mhm,
idea how women's bodies
mhm.
change throughout the freaking month, let alone
Right.
over
We
years.
we are
Yeah,
not little men.
right, right. Yeah,
We are very different.
yeah.
So,
So one of the things you said was, "I wish I would have done this sooner." So talk about that when you talked about the hormone change.
oh, well, I just wish I would have known,
Yeah.
about perimenopause. I've never even heard the term perimenopause. I heard about menopause, which
Right.
I knew would come eventually, probably in my 50s, and all I thought that meant was we lose our menstrual cycle and you might get some hot flashes, but I don't have to
Yeah,
worry about that because it's
yeah,
not until my 50s.
yeah.
No, and then I turned 45 and I swear a light switch went off. Boom. All of a sudden I didn't feel like me anymore, and I was so confused. I got anxiety. Well, it started with sleep disruptions, which I can actually track back
Oh, wow.
before my 40s.
Right.
But when I turned 40, I remember women telling me, "Oh, just wait till you're 40. Things change in your 40s." And I thought that they were just whiny, complaining women
Say,
that
"You
were blaming
understand,
their
I work
hormones.
out, girlfriend. That's not going to happen to me."
Yeah,
That's
or
what
they
they
were in a victim mindset
Yeah.
and they just wanted to blame something. And I just was like, I'm 40 and I feel great. I've got a great energy, great libido, like everything's working out just fine. And then 45. So I had sleep disruption, but then what really made me worried was when I got anxiety out of nowhere. Just simple things, simple life stressors I couldn't handle like I used to be able to handle.
Right.
Driving at night, like things like that. I just all of a sudden, and when I was 45, I had my first ever panic attack. And I had no idea what had happened to me. I
Right.
was terrified. I went to behavioral cognitive therapy to try to sort it out. We couldn't figure it out. Everything in my life was my kids were
Right.
getting good grades, good relationship with my ex-husband. I had a loving relationship. Parents weren't sick or anything. Everything was good. Business was growing. And I just was so frustrated because it was getting so I was struggling so much that I finally broke down in tears to my fiance and I was like, I don't know what's going on with me. Like, I've never felt this way in my life and something's not right. And so I stumbled upon Dr. Mary Claire Haver's podcast. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
She's an amazing resource on perimenopause and menopause. And she started talking about something called perimenopause, which are the 7 to 10 years
Wow.
before menopause. Because did you know menopause is just one day? It's just
No.
one day. Menopause technically is the one day that it has been 12 months consecutively without your period. So anything before that one day of menopause is perimenopause, and anything after is postmenopause. So
Wow.
you're not going through menopause, you're not
Yeah.
in menopause, you hit it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Done.
perimenopause is 7 to 10 years before menopause. So that's when you're going to have all the symptoms of losing your hormones. It's basically reverse puberty. You know, my daughter's
Wow.
15. She's gaining hormones. Her body's adjusting. She's moody, irritable, blah, blah, blah. It's real fun. Meanwhile, I'm over here losing my hormones, right? So basically I heard it described really well. Okay, menopause is one day, right? Just like giving birth to a child is one day, right? But
Right.
all the symptoms are in pregnancy before you give
True.
birth.
Interesting. That's a great correlation.
So perimenopause is all the symptoms of losing those hormones before menopause. So man, when I heard this and I heard Dr. Mary Claire Haver say anxiety and panic attacks can happen to people, I was like, there it is. Like, I
Wow.
knew this was not me. I knew I wasn't depressed or had anxiety. And that's when I dove into the world of hormones and I started learning how important women's sex hormones are, not just for physically, but mentally and emotionally as
Yes.
well. And
Yeah. I think I heard that today when I was listening. He said that besides the pituitary gland and all the things where the thyroid and every place where we think our hormones are being made, there are actually hormones being made in your brain. And so why would not that affect your brain? Obviously, your brain fog, your depression, your anxiety,
yeah.
all of that affects your brain. And that's the thing. And you know what's funny about what you said? If you would have just not been who you are, where you've got a critical thinking, inquisitive mind, you would have gone to your primary care and you would have said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just had an anxiety attack. You would have said, oh, let me just give you some Prozac. You're just
They tried to do that
Yeah.
multiple times. The doctors begged me. They said, Darla, you just need to take an SSRI. I said, I am not, and I've never had anxiety in my life. I am
Right.
not depressed. I don't need this. My business is the Joy Fit Academy. Get out
Yeah.
of here.
Yeah. And you
But
see, I love that because here you've got an authority figure telling you if you would just take this antidepressant, you would be fine. And you're like, I know my body. I know my history. I know who I am. I'm sorry, that's not for me. I mean, that is like my biggest call out for people is stop taking
Yes.
messages from people who have authority that you think just because they have initials behind their name, they know you. They've
No,
never
you
met
need
you
to
before in your life, you know,
you
but
need
they
to
have this,
research.
yeah, prescription pad they just write out.
Yes.
And can you
Research and
imagine?
advocate for yourself.
Yes, what that would have done to your system and your brain function to add that antidepressant to your already hormone cuckoo head. And now you've added something. I remember, you know what? And what's funny is I was about probably the same age. And I was like, I hate you, I hate you, and I hate you. And, you know, and my husband and I went to counseling, and the doctor said, well, I'm just going to put you on an antidepressant. I can't even remember what it was. And I took it for like a little bit and I thought, okay, this is stupid. I'm like happy, but I'm not. And nothing's changed. And why am I having to take this? You're the one that's not following through on what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm mad about that. But I'm taking a pill that goes, oh, well, it's okay. Yeah, sure. Oh, you don't have to do anything you said you were going to do, you know? And I thought, I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not reality. I get to have emotions. I get to have a whole
Mhm.
spectrum of emotions. They're justified, you know?
Mhm.
And so that is so frightening. That is so frightening.
It is. And there's you could look it up. I mean, I shared over 30 symptoms of perimenopause with my group, but that was just the 30 most common. And
Wow.
it's amazing when people see these symptoms and they're like, "Wait, I have that. That's been happening to me." You know, something as silly as itchy inner ears. Here I thought my AirPods were doing something to me and I was like,
Yeah.
"What's going on?" And that's a symptom. So
No.
the decline in hormones at this stage is, I mean, our hormones are so erratic compared to premenopausal, where it was a nice ebb and
Follow
flow,
it.
and now
Yeah.
it's just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so yeah, and that's helpful for this age group as well, because that's another thing that I hear a lot of pushback from women is I want to get healthier, but I just don't have any energy.
Yeah.
And they're beating themselves up over it. And so I'm trying to explain to them, well, first, in order to balance your hormones as naturally as you can in this stage of life, if you don't have the foundational parts of good nutrition and
Yeah.
movement down, you're just making it so much worse.
Yes. Yeah. You can't go and get your HRT
No,
and then go and eat at
no,
McDonald's every day.
that's a
You can't
that's
do.
band-aiding a bullet wound right
Yeah.
there. Okay. So
There is a package involved. Yeah.
yes. So I think to myself, like, how much worse would it have been if
Yes.
I hadn't already been doing those things? And that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So
Well, especially like you say, I that's really interesting to me that your symptom was a panic attack versus just brain fog or low energy or low libido or whatever, because that's frightening. I mean, that
mhm.
is frightening to be, because I had a girlfriend that kind of went through that just out of the blue. She was
Yeah,
like, we were at the movies and she was like, I've got to call home.
yeah.
Something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. And she was having a panic attack.
I
And
ended up in the ER. I thought I was having a heart attack because the heart palpitations were so bad.
oh
It's, I
my
mean,
gosh.
my body was very sensitive with this
Yeah.
hormone
So
stuff.
you
Man.
went to the doctor and they did blood work and they came back and they said,
Oh, yes.
oh, by the
So,
way, you don't have any hormones. No.
oh, well, first, no, they said everything's in a normal range. You're fine.
Oh,
But
normal
this is
range
what I've
for.
learned from all of these amazing, there's so many amazing doctors out there that are advocating for HRT and debunking the myths around this that you've heard from the Women's Health Initiative study that was done in 2005. I could go on and on about that. That's a whole nother thing.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but they will explain and break it down for you that normal range with blood work doesn't mean optimal. And to feel our
No.
best, we need to be optimal.
Yes. I hate that. It's like, oh, okay. So this is normal for a 70-year-old woman. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't want to be a normal 70-year-old woman. You
No.
know, I don't want
And
to take up crocheting, you know.
and symptoms don't lie at the end of the day. Don't let these providers who weren't trained in hormones make you feel like it's okay to suffer. Because yes, women live, what is it, about 6 years longer than men,
Yes.
but our
Yeah.
health span is not the same as men.
Right.
We're
Right.
deteriorating because we're losing our hormones. So you have to really fight for this, because I mean, let's think about it. In the 1900s, the early 1900s, an average woman's lifespan went to 48,
Yeah.
and now it's 78.
Yeah.
We've gained an extra 30 years
Yeah.
because of sanitation and antibiotics and better medical, knowledge,
Yeah.
all of this. So we're
Yeah.
living longer, but we're suffering.
And that's the argument that people will give. They'll say, well, our ancestors did take hormone replacement.
They
And like,
weren't
yeah, your
around this
ancestors
long.
died at 43. And, like they said, evolutionary, your bodies were created and sustained through your reproductive. And once your reproductive value is gone, die. You have no value any longer. That's how we evolved. So the fact that, like you say, because of modern medicine and technology and clean water and everything, we're living longer. And even though we're not in our reproducing age anymore, we have a lot to live for. But evolutionary wise, our bodies are still going, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
And
It's a whole third of our life
yeah,
that
you
we're
can't
supposed to
compare.
just
Yeah.
feel miserable in. It
Right.
doesn't make sense.
And the other thing is the idea, and when the doctor, I love Peter Attia, and he'll say things like, you'll go to a doctor and they'll say, well, I mean, you don't have libido, but you're 70.
They're
I
like,
mean,
go home and have a glass of wine, relax.
yeah, I mean, you don't really need that, do you? Really,
Yes, you
Or
do.
yeah, or they'll say, oh yeah, well, we'll try it, but we're only going to do it for like 5 years.
Mm,
And it's like, can you imagine saying that under any other circumstances?
mm,
That, well, we'll try it, but we're only going to do it for like 5 years. I don't
mhm.
know. We'll see. I know you have a heart defect, but we're only going to do this for a few years. But I mean, it's so you would and the thing is, like with what Dr. Attia was saying, none of the things that he studies with this hormone replacement did he learn in medical school.
No,
And that's frightening. That's why you have to advocate for yourself,
yes.
because they don't teach this.
No, they get so there's been studies done with this, and they get about 1 hour lecture on the topic of menopause,
Yeah.
but they get hundreds of hours on pregnancy. So they understand that part of a woman's life, but not this part. And it's frustrating because I do feel like there's like shame around talking about menopause or
Yeah.
perimenopause. I was in a group of women that were a little bit older at a brunch once, and I said something about perimenopause and the topic, and one of them's like, "Ooh, we don't have to talk about that here." And I'm like, "Why?
Oh,
We should be talking about this. Nobody's talking about this." It's the women feel like, "Oh, like it's this sensitive subject."
what do you think? That's because it's like a sexual thing, like,
I
or it's
guess.
kind of like the way they used to be, like around, when Lucille Ball couldn't say the word pregnant, you weren't allowed to say the word pregnant,
Yeah,
and
there's some weird
menstruating
thing
was
about
like,
it.
"Ooh, we don't say menstruating,
Because it's
your period,
yeah, acknowledging that we're getting older. Well, how about
Yeah.
we embrace that and live the last third of our life feeling amazing instead of just hiding away into the, what? No,
That's
I'm not going
amazing.
to do that.
Well, and I love that you said that on one of your Instagram things. You're like, stop the running, stop the hit classes, get your blood work done. And then you also talk, and this is the hardest thing for me. My generation, I grew up when you were saying how, did you grow up in the Midwest by any chance?
No,
Oh,
California girl
California.
all my life.
Okay, because my mom grew up I grew up in the Midwest, and my grandmother owned a restaurant, and it was fried chicken and tuna casserole, and her favorite recipe was a hamburger, Campbell's soup thing,
Oh,
and
that sounds like how I grew up. I grew
yeah,
up with tuna
yeah,
casserole and
yeah,
yeah, all of the what was that? Yeah, that hamburger helper.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember one time leaving my babysitter with I have a box of hamburger helper,
Yes.
so you can make that for the kids for dinner tonight, and he said, "What's hamburger helper?" I said, "Oh, you've got one of those mothers." Okay, I don't know how to. It's a box. Read the
Okay,
directions.
we grew up similar.
Yeah, but and my mother's idea of health was dieting. She went to Weight Watchers. She took the little AIDS chocolate
By
thing.
Slim
You know,
Fast.
yes,
Yeah.
that's her idea of health, was strictly, I'm going to restrict my calories and I'm going to lose weight. There was no exercise involved for women. And then my generation, like you say, we were runners. Oh, you need to start running. You need to start jogging. You need to start doing step classes. That's how aerobic. If you want to lose weight, you have to do aerobic. So women my age really struggle when you have a coach say you need to up your calories. It's like, oh, that's never going to happen. There is no way I am going to watch that scale. There is no way. Even though you try to convince them that it's muscle, they're like, the scale went up 5 pounds. And you're like, yes, but let's do a body fat, But that my generation is like, no, I mean, we're still doing Twiggy. We're still doing, hip huggers and I don't know, they're called low rise nowadays, but in my day they were hip huggers. So, but yeah, that's the hardest thing is when I see I increased my calories 500 calories and I started and then you look at these people on the Instagram and you're like, you did what? 500 calories? It's like, that must be hard for you to convince the women.
Yeah, because we have to get over it's not how small can we get, it's how strong we can get. Because ultimately that's the goal that they're wanting is that type of looking body, because you can just cardio and undereat and shrink yourself, but you're going to be feeling awful and you're going to be skinny fat.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you've seen people that are just, there's nothing there.
Yeah. Well,
and then it's also
on the cocaine look now. So their arms are like this big around,
Oh,
so,
are you talking about the Ozempic people?
No, well, the Kardashian, well, yeah, but the Kardashians.
Let's not even get into that topic.
Yeah. I mean, they've gone down, they've gone back to the how thin can I get? But I have a BBL, so my butt still looks great. But it's, it's that message again where tiny is best. And
but
we
they're
saw
setting
that.
themselves up for failure later on because they're going to have frailty and loss of independence in their older age. I don't know. We have to start playing the long game.
Yes.
We live in a society of instant gratification with everything. You need something, order it on Amazon. It's on your doorstep in 2 days. Like you gotta let your health be something you give a little patience and time to and understand the whole why behind your doing it.
Well, and now you just got through with a menopause masterclass.
Yeah.
So tell everybody what that was all about and how, and tell everybody, like, if they want to work with you as a coach, how do you do that? What's your methodology of working with people?
Well, when I started this business, it was important for me to educate women and not just tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with several coaches in the past where I would get a meal plan and I would just follow it blind. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know why I was working out the way they were showing me. I remember one time a coach took my banana out of my meal plan. I said, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Just trust the process." If he would have said, "Well, Darla, that banana is over 25 grams of carbs and I'm trying to bring your carbs down so that we can release more," I would have understood and accepted and embraced that. But because I couldn't have that banana and wasn't told why, I was like, "You're like a toddler." Like, well, now I want the banana even more. So I knew that when
I'm going to eat.
yeah, now all I can think about is this damn banana. So I knew that when I started coaching women that I didn't want it to be like all the other coaches. I wanted to empower them with knowledge, which is why I named it the Joy Fit Academy. The reason why it's Joy Fit is because I wanted to change the way society shows fitness as this awful, miserable thing where you have to be sweating and put chalk on your hands and it's miserable. And women in their 40s, we've already got so much going on. I see a picture of somebody flipping a tire and I'm like, oh, I don't have the energy for that. I'm tired. Okay. So I wanted women to see that this type of lifestyle really can bring joy back into your life. It's not about what it's taking from you. It's what it's giving to your life. So the Joy Fit Academy, yes, we give you nutrition guidance, workout programming. If you're in the gym or at home, most women start at home and then eventually go into the gym once they get stronger and build their confidence in all of this. We give them mindset coaching to think differently about health and fitness. So there's a membership site with modules. So when I'm explaining to them that we need more protein, they have homework each week to watch a learning module. It's like 15 or 20 minutes long. So they learn the importance of protein. They learn why carbs aren't evil and they need them in their life. They learn about fats, about magnesium. They learn about hydration. I mean, they learn it all because my goal is for them to understand why I'm asking them to do what they're doing
Oh, that's
so
so
that I
good.
can empower their choices and their decisions. And then eventually they can go off and be their own coach and
Right.
sustain this. So that's
Mm.
the point is not to take somebody that has 30, 40 pounds to lose and 6 months later just say, bye. Hope you
Yeah.
can figure it out without me. Most coaches, that's their business model. Come rely on me because then once I'm not around, you're going to be lost. You're going to regain the weight and have to come back to me. And that's a good business model for most coaches, but I don't want that. I want my clients to leave knowing how to sustain this so that I can check in on them on social media and see them living this vibrant, happy, confident, energized life. And then I'm going to get more business because people are going to ask them, how did you do this? And they're going to be like, go talk to Darla.
So
So
I love that. I mean, because like you say, a lot of times this is like, okay, here's your food plan. I'm going to give you, this is your Monday workout, your Tuesday workout, your Wednesday workout. But like you say, you're explaining why I'm giving you this food plan.
So we don't even give a food plan. I call it flexible dieting. So you can eat
Ah.
everything, anything you want, as
Are
long
you
as it
tracking
fits.
macros?
Yes, as long as it
Okay.
fits in the parameters. So they learn all about the importance of protein and we adjust their carbs and fats depending on how they like to eat.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I have one client, she has a little Hershey chocolate, little miniature
Yeah.
chocolate every night after dinner. Like
Yeah.
she loves it.
You
So
probably
she
look
can have
forward to
that.
that every single day. Is it 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
Can I have my little chocolate bar?
Because if you feel like you're being deprived or
Yes.
restricted, then you're not going to stick with it. So you've got
Mm.
to be able to eat the foods you like just in the right parameters.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. Okay, so if you're out there, hello,
mhm.
and they want to get a hold of you, the best way to do that is
Well,
at
the platform I'm on the most is Instagram.
okay, all
So
right,
it's at Darla Joy Fitness on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too.
okay.
Just Darla Joy there. I'm on TikTok. I just started TikTok recently and man,
Oh, excellent.
that's been fun.
Oh,
um,
TikTok makes me so sad because they took it away.
I
They gave it
know.
back to us. It's not the same TikTok.
I
It's
know.
different. And I'm
I
like,
know.
this is a Facebook version of TikTok, and
Yeah,
it makes me very sad.
something's going on.
Yeah,
Well,
I know.
they can find me on there and there's a link you can click. I do a two-part interview process again because when I started this, I don't want to work with everybody. I want to work
Yeah,
with the right people. So
excellent. I love that.
I need to hear your goals and see if you're in the right mindset for this, or am I
Right.
hearing a lot of victim talk? Like, are you
Yeah.
blaming all the external factors for why you are where you're at? Or are
Ah,
you willing to take responsibility for your actions or lack of actions? And if I hear that you're like, this is my why, it's important to me to change, I want this to be a lifestyle change, not just a quick fix, then I'm going to invite you to a second call and we'll talk about enrollment. So I say
yeah,
no to a lot of people.
that's really interesting. Like if they say, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm not giving up my alcohol. I'm not giving up my Monday morning whatever. I'm not giving those things up." You're like, "Okay, let's talk about, like you say, working within your food plan, not your food plan, but your what you call it, flexible, whatever, flexible eating."
Flexible dieting or yeah.
Yeah, flexible dieting. If there's a lot of pushback, I'm not saying specifically, but if you just everything you say, you get a pushback
Yeah, I
for.
mean, if they're not coachable, then
Yeah,
my whole point of doing this is I like to keep the clientele small so I can really have a relationship with them.
yeah,
Most coaches, you're one of hundreds. But I know every single client. I know what's going on in their life. We do video messages, we talk weekly, like we're like this.
amazing.
So it's great. So, but if they're not coachable and they just sound like they're not willing to learn, like they're in the I already know how to do it all. It's like, well, if you know how to
Uh,
do it all, why are you here?
what are you calling me? Yeah,
You mentioned the alcohol thing. Like, I'll bend with people. I'm going to be realistic with you though and say, if you're going to be drinking every night, your progress is not going to be as good as somebody who limits it to once a week.
yeah, yeah.
So,
That's,
I'm realistic with them.
so
But
talk just slowly at the end. I want you to brag yourself up here. Talk about your Muscle Fitness magazine. On how you, that is
I
so
have it right
true.
here.
Okay. I mean,
Okay.
that is like the epitome of like, ta-da! Look at that. Look at that. Like on the front of a magazine. What's that rock and roll song on the front of a magazine? Oh my God.
I
Talk
could
about
not believe that happened. That was a huge surprise this year. And it was just because I had asked to model some sportswear for a photographer, and the woman who owned the sportswear line, Elisabetta Rogiani, is like big in the fitness industry. And her and I just started talking about like what I do for a living. And I was just telling her how passionate I am and how I feel like the women in their 40s and beyond are just the most confused with fitness and nutrition. And I just want them to take back their control over food once and for all, and feel confident again at this age and not feel like their body is broken. I just, I went into all of this, and she's
right.
just like, Darla, she's like, more people need to know about this. And she was so cute and passionate. I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Turns out she helps produce this magazine that I had no idea. And
Yeah.
she calls me out of the blue and is like, Darla, you must be on the cover of my magazine.
Oh.
I'm like, what?
You're like, no, it's all right.
I remember I said, but I'm turning 45. Like, isn't
Yeah.
this magazine usually 20s and 30s? And she's like, I don't care. People need this. And it was such an honor. It still doesn't feel real. It still
Yeah.
doesn't feel real, but huge
I
accomplishment for sure.
hate the stigma behind these numbers, because my husband and I are finding this now. If you write down, like he went to rent a car and they asked how old he was, because he's 71, he had to fill out like 3 more questions, because it's just a standard. Oh, you're 65. Like any commercial you watch now. Oh, if you're over the age of 65, you need to be taking, whatever this medicine is, because there's a stigma behind these ages. Oh, you're 45. You can't be on the cover of a magazine. Oh, you're 65. Ooh, you're at high risk. We're going to maybe, I don't know if we can even rent a car, or signing up. Like I was trying to sign up for an expedition, a motorcycle thing. And they're like, ooh, 70, yikes, we're going to be in Cambodia. And I'm like, and I mean, because there's just a stigma.
Or you
behind
shouldn't
the
talk about
numbers.
menopause because that's
Yes,
not sexy.
yes. Or because if you say anything about menopause, they'll go, oh, she's old.
Yeah.
She must be old and dried up.
So dumb.
Oh, you're
No.
amazing. You're amazing.
Oh.
Well, all right. Everyone go to, so if they go to Instagram, then there's the links there where they can find your coaching and apply to maybe work with you or whatever. So that's the best way to find
Yes.
it. Okay.
That's the
All right.
best place. You can send me a message and it's me. I'll respond to you and we
No
can
bother.
chat.
Okay.
Any more shows coming up for you, Renee? You going to do the natural shows?
You know what?
or-
I was looking today because I thought I had registered for one in June, and I'm looking through the NPC and I'm like, where is that one I thought I registered for in San Antonio the end of June? I can't find it. So
we have
I
the
got
new fit model category.
I know. I was talking to my coach about that, because I
Yeah.
was saying, where do you think I wouldn't have to work quite as hard? I wouldn't have to get quite so lean,
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. And I said, well, maybe I'll sign up for both. See where they land me,
There you go.
But I don't know. But yeah, I'm like you, it's funny when you were talking about yourself. And I remember my husband, I took a what was it? It was some kind of not jazzercise. Maybe it was jazzercise. Anyway. And I said, I'm going to get certified in jazzercise. He goes, can you just go to the class? Why do you teach a class? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why, but yeah, I'll go to something and go,
I'm
I
the
can
same
do
way.
that. I can get certified in that,
It's a blessing and a curse all at once.
Yeah.
I'm never satisfied. I always want more.
I know, it's like, and I always say to people, these body fitness competitions are like childbirth. You get through with one, you go, I am never doing that again.
Yeah.
That was
And then you have amnesia.
Yes.
Like
you
weeks
forget
later,
how
you're like,
painful it was. And you're like, oh no, I'm signing up for another one in May. Okay, well, that works.
it's
great.
because we like the process.
Yes.
There's a quote, the prize is in the pursuit.
Yes.
And that's what we love about body building shows. And that's what I try to teach my clients about their health journey, is stop focusing on that number that you're trying to get to or that body. start enjoying how you're feeling through the process of becoming healthier. And that's when you're really going to enjoy it and be able to sustain it.
See, what a difference. What a difference that mindset is compared to what we've heard for the last 30 years.
We got a lot of work to do out there. A lot of.
Well, Darla, go check on that poor baby that's back there, probably losing 4 or 5 pounds as we speak.
He's okay. He's 13. He's on TikTok or YouTube Shorts.
When you were saying he was throwing up every 30. My husband and I went to Mexico in March, and I got food poisoning. And it was right before. I don't know why I do these things. I sign up for a competition, then I go on vacation 2 weeks before the competition. So I lost 7 pounds in that week. I'm sure a lot of it was muscle, because I wasn't eating anything. I was laying on the bed thinking I'm going to die, but I lost 7 pounds in a week.
Yeah.
So
you got depleted.
Anyway, all right. Thank you so much. This has been so fabulous. This has
I
been
know we could talk and talk and talk.
I know it could go on forever for sure. So, all right. Well, I am going to be watching you closely on Instagram, and I'm going to encourage everyone else to do the same.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
I try to warn you people about these fabulous guests that I have. And I don't think you understand. I'm going to show you because, as she said, the best way to get a hold of her is on her Instagram. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of her Instagram posts because they're amazing.
Perimenopause. Stop running for cardio or doing HIIT classes. These things cause inflammation, trigger hunger hormones, and raise your cortisol levels. Strength training helps balance your hormones and gives you that sculpted look to your physique. I wish I would have started earlier on hormone replacement therapy, and I wish I would have known all the symptoms I was experiencing were related to perimenopause. Prioritizing things like sleep, stress management, protein, and fiber intake is crucial at this stage of life for several reasons. There's so much I wish I would have known before my 40s, which is why I'm offering a free master class. I want to empower you with knowledge so no woman over 40 suffers, and so you feel ready and confident on how to navigate this stage of midlife. Comment the word midlife, and I'll send you an invite.
That's an example of what she posts on Instagram. And everything she said is so true. Stop doing the HIIT classes and the intensive cardio, because especially as you say, over the age of 40, your body's going through a lot of changes, and it's really putting things backwards. You're not going forward. Let me show you another one.
And complaining that you're not losing weight, I am going to explain exactly why it is not serving you. This is something that I've taught hundreds of women in my coaching program, and I'm going to explain exactly why it's not working for you in this video. Hi, I'm Darla. I'm 45 years old. I've been a fitness coach for 15 years, and let's get down to the hard truth here. 1,200 calories is the problem here, because the number one reason why you can't live in such a low calorie range is because you can't stay consistent. I'd be willing to bet that your week looks something like this. Monday comes around and you have decided this is the week that I'm going to make these changes. You don't like what you see in the mirror. Your clothes are fitting tight. Your confidence is tanked, and you are just really on a mission for change. And cutting calories to 1,200 is all that you've ever known. So you start out on Monday and you do all right. Tuesday, you keep it up. Wednesday, you might even make it to Thursday in this low calorie amount. But by Friday, you are depleted, not just in calories, but you are emotionally and physically exhausted from keeping this up. On top of this, now it's Friday night and your hubby wants to go have a date night, or your girlfriends want to meet for happy hour, and you feel like I've been so good all week that I've earned this. So you have a really fun free-for-all Friday, and then that usually rolls over into Saturday, and always by Sunday, that's when guilt and shame kick in.
Is that not the absolute truth on how we've lived our lives up until now? It's that dreaded Monday that we're going to start over. And that's why New Year's resolutions, January, and by February, everyone's gone because of these unrealistic expectations. Where I love what Darla said about just a flexible eating plan that allows you to eat whatever you want, but tracking it. I don't know if any of you have ever written down a diary, kept a food diary, because I will wager you that you will think, I didn't eat that much today. And then you look back on your food diary and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that, blah, 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 whatever that is. And the other thing that's really hard for me because I don't like to cook is food prep. But I am in my car a lot. We live kind of out in the country. So in order for me to get anywhere, it's a good 18 to 20 minutes. And so, when I go somewhere, when I go work out, it's an hour for me to get to the gym that I go to with my trainer. It's 20 minutes for me to go to the gym that I go to by myself. And I'm hungry when I get out of the gym. If I don't have food packed in my car, I'm stopping off somewhere. I know that. So I have to food plan ahead. And so it's little things like that. But I love Darla's Instagram. She has a lot of really good things. And I really encourage you, if you have set a New Year's resolution and it's almost February, this Saturday, it's almost February, and this is your last week and you're going, I don't know where January went or my resolutions. I don't know where any of that went. I really encourage you to get on Instagram, look up Darla, DM her, let her know that you need her help, and she will give it to you. So thanks for joining me today. And I'm so grateful for Darla. Darla's had a lot of stuff on her plate this last month, and she was so great to take time out of her day and join us on She Became Visible. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Please get on YouTube, look up Peter Attia. He's a fabulous doctor. He talks a lot about hormone replacement. I really encourage you. Women, we have testosterone in our bodies. We have estrogen in our bodies. It's not just an ovary, women's uterus. Estrogen is your bone health, your hair health, your brain health. There's so many other things tied to estrogen. And I remember the first time I had blood work done, and literally that's what she said to me when she came back. She said, you don't have any hormones left in your body. So it's just, and Darla mentioned the World Health testing that was done back in 2005. Dr. Attia talks a lot about that. And he really talks about how detrimental it was for my demographic, for women in the late 40s, 50s, and early 60s. Our age group was told that if we take estrogen, we will develop breast cancer. And women were taken off all hormone replacement. And now it's come out that the data was completely wrong. The testing was mixed up. It was a very abhorrent test that was done. It's caused a lot of damage for women in my demographics. So Dr. Attia covers that in a lot of his YouTube. So I really encourage you to go on that as well. So once again, thank you for joining me today on She Became Visible, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.